you were handed a lot of names of opponents. I believe you told me just a second ago that it was 20 names that you were handed. Since you had to cut down on the list of the people that you were fighting, we might as well talk about this for a second. Apparently, Tony Lopez has been making some comments calling you a bitch because you wouldn't fight him. First off, have you heard this stuff from Tony Lopez, and do you even know who this guy is?
I had seen him on Bully Beatdown one time. That's all I knew about Tony Lopez, and I thought he looked like Antoine LaVey with a braided mullet. I don't know if you guys know who Antoine LaVey is, but that's a good joke. But he had contacted me, asked me if there's any way. He had a fight schedule, I think, with Gilbert Ivel at that new Canadian promotion of Pride Rules, which got postponed or canceled or something. And he had contacted me privately, asked me if there's any way I would accept him as a replacement fight for Hayes when he pulled out. And, at the time, this could be like exclusive all-out truth, too, so no one's heard this end of the story. But at the time, I told Lopez, I said, I'll have to talk to my agent, Monty Cox at CSX. I don't really know anything about you. And I said, you're a light heavyweight, aren't you? He goes, yeah, I'm about 215 right now. And I said, okay, well, I'm not doing 265 for this fight, so, that kind of rules that out. And he said, well, I'll take it at whatever weight as long as you promise you'll stand with me. And I started laughing. I said, I'm not going to tell you I'm going to do something in a fight. A fight is a fight. You know what I mean? If you're beating me up, stand up, I'm going to take you down, or vice versa. So we're not going to rig a fight on it. What style I'm going to fight you, just so I don't have to cut weight. And talked to Monty about it. And Monty pretty much gave me the assessment that Tony is a dangerous fighter once in a while, and he said he's hard to finish. He's got good cardio. He said he's not a bad fighter. He said the problem is, if you beat him, you beat up a 40-year-old journeyman's light heavyweight, He said if you beat him, he said if you lose, it's a catastrophe. He said, so Monty said, I don't see the upside to the fight. It's a no-win situation for you. If you'll look so much bigger than him, it'll make you look bad even if you win. He said, God forbid he catch in a triangle or something like that and beat you, then it's, not necessarily the end of the MMA career, but you be coming real close to it. So because he's not a big name guy, not a name opponent at all, but he's a guy who's good that nobody knows who he is, which is, to be honest, I'm looking for the exact opposite. I'm looking for Wes Sims, like guys that are really famous that aren't as good as their names, So, and anybody who says any different, these guys that want to fight the best in the world and all that, have at it. I'm trying to make a living and make some money and get back in the UFC. So, it always cracks me up when the guys say they do it because they love it. They fight for free. Like, well, go out and do it, buddy, because that's not me. But Tony, like I said, Tony Lopez, I told him if you really want to do the fight, I told him start, trashing me on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. build it up and see if we get somebody to pace really well. I'd be interested in doing it because he seemed like he'd be a guy who'd play the game and go along with, hyping a fight. Instead, he starts sending messages like, please tell them I need the money. I got to pay my light bill, this and that. Like, I'm broke. I got kids, like all this different stuff. Like, I'll do anything, to just take the fight. I guess he's really struggling right now. And I told him, dude, I'm not, that's not my problem. Sorry about your luck. It's not, on 6 days' notice against a guy like that. I'm not, I'm worried about me. I'm not worried about him or his light bill. So so then he starts, instead of, I told him in a couple of months, Sam Hoger and I had a possible fight in Dallas in October, and Sam doesn't want to do it now. And I told him that fight's paid really, really well. If we can build some hype up, you might be able to get that spot, and we can, make some money, because Hoger's better than, Lopez ever thought about being. So get him as that opponent wouldn't be, or that fight for that money wouldn't be a big deal. But I told him, it might be a spot, and then Lopez was, I need the money now, on and on. And then he started saying ridiculous things like I'm afraid of him and, all this different stuff, which my response to him is like it is to everybody who I'm supposedly ducking or dodging or whatever. It has nothing to do with being afraid to fight you. It has to do with what's best for my career. So if you actually want to fight me and you think I'm afraid, we can set it up in a neutral gym and go somewhere and film it and fight for free. And we'll see who's afraid, not afraid, but when it comes to your MMA record or it comes to your career, you've got to do, make smart moves, which is probably why I am where I am in my career and why Lopez is where he is.
Okay, so just to be clear, I want to make sure I understood you correctly. Tony Lopez, his story was essentially full of holes. It wasn't that you turned down a fight with him. It's you turned down a fight with him basically because he would only fight you if he had Kimbo Slice rules.
Yeah, he said he would take it at the open weight if I would promise to stand with him. He said, if you're just going to lay down or lay on top of me, take me down or whatever, which I would do if, I wasn't winning standing up. I have no problem, taking the guy down and laying and praying to a victory. I've got to win outside the UFC, to get back. So I don't, and not that necessarily would be how we go, but I don't see very many people his size beating me in a fight. I mean, there's obviously, John Jones, guys like that, but I mean, you're talking outside the UFC, guys that weigh 215 pounds or giving up 80 pounds to me is going to be, a nightmare for him. But, it isn't a case. If Tony Lopez wants to fight me, Tony Lopez can come to my gym, or I can meet him in any gym, and we can fight tomorrow and film it over the internet for everybody to enjoy. But I'll even pay his light bill for him. Like, he brings light bill if he wants to. I'll go ahead and give him the $85 to pay his light bill. So, but yeah, it's like I said, I'm not. I don't know. People, this whole thing, it's funny because people, always say this guy. Fighting's always been the same since the boxing days and everything else. This guy's scared of this guy's ducking this guy, and that's always what it is. And I even heard Cameron Beeford. He's running his mouth now, saying that I'm afraid of Tony Lopez on Facebook, which I think is hilarious because I just beat that dude up in a minute, and it wasn't even close. Like, I literally, the only thing that's wrong with me from that fight is I have about a pea-sized bruise on my right knuckle. And Beeford saying he's a real fighter, I'm not a real fighter, and he's saying if he would have landed that right hand he threw, he would have knocked me out and all this and that. And, I mean, that guy's delusional.